What's up, guys? My name is JC Kroupa, and welcome to Father Help Us, the show where only God knows what's next. I know that first off, this podcast is late. Super sorry about that. We'll get to more on the reason why that is later. I know that I am the 9,000th podcaster to talk about this, but we have to talk about the Super Bowl, like legitimately. If you were mad about the Bad Bunny halftime show, it's for one of two reasons. There's only two options, really. You've never seen a Latina woman before, or you're gay. Which, if you want to be gay, yippee, free country, do your thing, man. But those are the only two options, dude. I've seen so many people online talk about like this is an American halftime show and just so angry for no reason, dude. Dude, it was a good show. Now, granted, would I prefer the act to be an English speaker? Yeah, because I speak English. I don't speak any other languages. I actually barely speak English. So that would be nice. But at the same time, dude, like, I don't know. I've been listening to Bad Bunny music like nonstop. My hips are moving, man. And he's also from Puerto Rico, which is an American territory. So he is American. And I don't know how you can like watch that incredible performance and just hate, you know? Like there's a lot of things that you can hate on in this world, and Bad Bunny should not be one of them, you know? I was watching people on TikTok have been like breaking down like the English or the Spanish lyrics and translating them into English. And the one song, it's like, my grandma asked me why I got so many girlfriends. Hey, why I got so many girlfriends? And people are like clowning it online. I'm like, dude, like that's hard, you know? If you got like the voice or sonically, like your voice sounds cool or your flow's cool, you can pretty much say anything you want and people will eat it up. Just ask Taylor Swift. But the Super Bowl in general, I also, if you thought the Super Bowl in general was boring, you probably don't know ball. Like, I think that it's interesting to see teams play defense, you know? And watching that game, you know, I was cheering for the Seahawks because I'm moving to Seattle here in a few months, which we'll get to that here in a second. And I just love that place and got some good buddies that live up there and friends, you know, that don't live there that are really big Seahawk fans. And I mean, just the whole Sam Darnold story on, you know, getting drafted by the Jets, the whole, you know, I'm seeing ghost thing and, you know, getting let go by the Jets and then going to Carolina, you know, and Carolina deciding he's not good enough and then going to, I think it was San Francisco, sitting behind Brock Purdy for a year, and then finally, then going to Minnesota, having a 14-win season in Minnesota, and then the Vikings are like, "No, we're gonna roll with 9," and then finally ended up in Seattle, and he wins a Super Bowl before Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, who are all in his same draft class. It's so cool. I love those underdog stories. Like, and Sam Darnold was kind of like the brunt of a lot of jokes for a really long time, and to see him like, you know, just up there, like, it's funny. Like, I'm watching all the Seahawks players like react to winning the Super Bowl, and they're like the most nonchalant, non-reactive team like I've ever seen win the Super Bowl. Like it's actually kind of insane. Like they're like, yeah, you know, shout out to our teammates. You know, we did what we had to do. It's cool to be here and be champions. I'm like, dude, if a girl brought me flowers, I'd cry. You know, and these guys are just like up there, like, yeah, sick, awesome experience, dude. I don't know. I guess that's why I'm not a professional athlete, right? But Super Bowl was great. Yeah, just don't don't tell me you're a patriot if you didn't like or didn't want to see the Bad Bunny halftime show. You're not a patriot. You're just gay, which is fine. Do your thing, man. But don't. Oh man, this world is absolutely insane. Um, Epstein files, no way to really transition into that, but that's something I've been thinking about for a long time. Where do you even begin with something like that? So, if you guys don't know, the actual files, they're on the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice's like page or something like that. You just look up like Epstein files, Department of Justice, and there's a whole library of all these files, and it's like 3.5 million documents, which is absolutely insane. And apparently, it's only like half of the documents, and you can sift through there by looking up certain keywords and things like that, and everyone like on TikTok is talking about certain documents, and they never like cite which document it is, which is really annoying because I'm like, oh, I actually want to go look at that for myself. But from what I've seen going through the documents and people reporting on it who will actually like cite what's in it, it is, we should be so much angrier, you know. And I don't want to make this a political podcast. Like I don't think anyone cares what I have to say politically. Which, even talking about the Super Bowl, people are going to be like, oh, that's political. It's like the over politicization, politicization. Am I saying that right? The over politicness, however you want to say it, of everything in our lives has got to stop, man. Like, I don't know how you see Alex Peretti get shot in the streets and you make it a political thing. Like, none of these people care about us. Like, let's be honest. Like, Biden didn't care about you. Harris didn't care about you. I mean, Trump's name is mentioned more in the Epstein files than God's name is mentioned in the Bible. Like, all these people are crooked and corrupt. And honestly, we need Jesus. That doesn't mean, don't exercise your right to vote, or, if you want to be Republican, be Republican. If you want to be Democrat, be Democrat. But first and foremost, like, we just, I don't know, like, well, I did not plan on talking about this. Dude, welcome frickin' back. So many people that I know, because obviously, I've worked at a few churches. I'm a Christian, so I go to church. So I'm around like a lot of conservative Republican people. And the overarching theme always is that like we need God in this country. Sure. Yeah. But I think what's more important and what will bring God to this country is if we have God in our family units. If you look at every theocracy in human history, it's failed. Whether it's, the Jews, whether it's, the Muslim states, whether it's, the current one is, well, America's not a theocracy, it's a democracy, supposedly. But anytime you try to, or even look at the Roman Empire, anytime you transition to a theocracy, you're not really following your God. You're following somebody's brand or version of that God, because we're people and we're all flawed. So when people are saying like, bring God into schools, bring God into hospitals, bring God into this, bring God into that, it's really like bring my version of who I think God is and my agendas and my ideologies. And we've just lost the ability in this country to be wrong, dude. I was talking about this to one of my friends the other day, and it's like, if you can't even be open to the fact that you might be wrong, you probably are wrong. And I approach my faith like that, my politics, my beliefs about just like the world in general. I'm like, hey, statistically, like all the opinions and beliefs I have, like I'm probably wrong about a lot of them. So instead of speaking out of a place of knowledge or certainty, because there's very few things that I truly believe are like that, maybe I should listen more, because there's a lot more knowledge in the world than knowledge in my brain. And People who just close their ears as soon as they hear buzzwords like Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, or hints of an ideology that they deem is in a box or group of people that they don't agree with or get along with. It's like, nope, I don't want to hear it. Like, what do you mean? Like, why wouldn't you want to hear what someone else thinks that disagrees with you? Like, I don't know. I find that like interesting. Like, why do you think that way? Like, I'm so diametrically opposed to how you see the world and what you believe. And it's like interesting that you could think that way. So even if I still disagree with you, I'm like, okay, instead of characterizing or caricaturizing and generalizing people in a certain way, why don't I like actually see what these types of people believe, or at least this person in this circumstance? And nobody wants to do that because it's uncomfortable, because you might find out that you're wrong about something. Uh, And it's like, dude, you should seek to be wrong about things. Like, dude, you're freaking 24 and you think you know everything that there is to know about the world. You think you know so much about politics that like you are a Republican through and through or a Democrat through and through. There's no other information you need to know about. Like you're literally aligning yourself with people that are not good people because they're identifying with a class, whether it's a political party or religion, or a certain group or workforce. It's honestly an identity issue that we're having in our country, and in our homes, and among ourselves. And when you start to when you don't identify yourself as God's son, God's daughter, a child of the king, like we were created to worship and we were created to follow. So we're either going to follow God or we're going to follow the world. So if you don't do that, then all of a sudden your identity is a political party. Your identity is your job. Your identity is your spouse. Your identity is your significant other. Your identity is a mother. Your identity is a father. And those things aren't harmful inherently within themselves, but they become harmful when they're all you are. Like I'm a son, like I have a dad, and I try to be a good son, but I don't think my identity is being Jeff Kroupa's son. Like my identity is son of the Most High King. And as long as I know that and I remember that, and that's how I identify myself, these things that are constantly shifting around me aren't ultimately going to matter. And so many things matter to you that shouldn't matter. And I mean, I group myself in that too. Like, there are so many things that, I think that are important that I have to check myself on sometimes, that ultimately like are not important, like at all, dude. Um, I don't know, like you think about fights you get in with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife. Yeah, I was at church on Sunday. I went to Evolve here in Milwaukee, and it was great for the most part. There was just one part of the service where this guy got up and talked about, Noah coming out of the ark, and then somehow warped that to get an offering because it was offering time, and it was not a correct interpretation of the passage at all, and it was really sloppy, and I didn't like that. But everything else was amazing. Um, they did a gospel rendition of "What a Beautiful Name It Is," the Hillsong song. It was incredible, and they had like a panel because they're doing like a love series, I guess, or relationship series, and they had three couples up there, and this one couple talked about the wife in particular, this argument that they had about donuts. And, you know, the husband would go and buy some donuts, put them in the fridge, and then the wife would eat all of them, which already, like, why are you eating a whole box of donuts? Deeper. And, she did it the first couple times. He kind of laughed it off, like, okay, like, now I have to go all the way back to the store. Can you not do that? And then like the third or fourth time, I guess her husband's tone changed and he's like, hey, like, you're like actually being disrespectful now. Like you're being selfish. And the wife was like, it's donuts. Like we're not that strapped for cash, and we can't just like go to the store and get some more donuts. And so while the donuts were not important, the principle was. And she had to realize she was being disrespectful to her spouse by not honoring him and being selfish. And there's so many things in our lives that are just like that. Didn't it, dude? Usually I get like deep and sentimental at the end of the podcast, but it's been a while. Where the thing we're arguing about, or the thing we so deeply believe is not important, and it's really something that's deeper that we haven't dug within ourselves, pause, to figure out what that thing is. I remember being in a therapy session a few months ago, and I've deep rooted abandonment issues, and I'm talking with my therapist, and we're talking about my treatment plan or whatever, and I'm like, well, I want to find out if like is it this way or is it that way? And ultimately, she's like, why can't it be both ways? Which is the most therapist way to attack something. But it's like so often we think about the world in black and white, and it's got to be this way or that way, red or blue, up or down. And so many things in life are nuanced and in the middle and in the gray of all that. And if you, all this to say, if you think you have the correct idea, opinion, belief about anything, like peer review it. What they say in college, like only use peer reviewed resources and not just what you think. Cite your sources, because a lot of people just say whatever. What's up, Dad? How's it going? Everybody say hi to my dad. I'm recording the podcast right now. My dad's great. He's awesome. But yeah, something that I think helps me kind of get out of that doom scrolling and getting in this almost like supernatural funk of thinking about the world and the state of the world and all these things is movies. Like I love movies, I love film, and I think next month we might do like a Patreon only just straight movie podcast along with this. So if you guys want that, let me know. But recently I watched a couple movies, and I watched One Battle After Another, and then I also watched this movie Colossal. And I had a way more fun time with the movie Colossal. So let me let me talk about One Battle After Another first. Now, love Leonardo DiCaprio. He's great, super talented, Titanic boy. He's come a long way, and he was great in the movie. Tiana Taylor was great in the movie. Little light skinned girl was great in the movie. Sean Penn was great in the movie. Just like the acting all around was great. Now, I could not tell you the plot of this movie. Essentially, and this is in the synopsis and in the trailers or anything, so I'm not spoiling anything or giving anything away, but essentially what happens is Tiana Taylor and Leonardo DiCaprio are like in this revolutionary, violent, kind of pseudo-terrorist group that's like bombing buildings and things around America. So already you're like, okay, you guys are like not doing the right thing, super shady stuff. They're like, Tiana Taylor ends up like, I said I wouldn't get into spoilers, but doing like effed up stuff. And it's very like pseudo Black Panther stuff, where they're just using violence to make noise, and they don't think peaceful protesting is the way to go. And essentially, she and Leonardo DiCaprio have a baby who's a light-skinned girl in the movie, and they get found out because they're doing all this in secret because they don't want to go to prison, obviously, and it just doesn't. it doesn't go the way that they thought it would, and they spend like the next 16 years in hiding, and that's kind of where the movie picks up again. The pacing of this movie is off. Like you think it's going to go one way and it goes another in terms of like some parts drag, some parts move too quick. Uh, I mean, the movie's got like a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. So you would think like, oh, this movie's like amazing, and you know, obviously most people think it is, and I'm the outlier on this, but it just like didn't make any sense to me at all. And then there's this other group within the government that's like neo-Nazi, but they work for the government, and they're like trying to like kill the main characters, but also the main characters are like not likable at all. Like they all kind of like Tiana Taylor sucks. Um, the little light skinned girl is like just sassy all the time and rude to her father. The most likable character is Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's kind of a piece of crap. Uh, you know, you get to the end of the movie, and I just felt very unsatisfied, and a few of the plot points and details I was still confused on. So I would not recommend it. So to clean my palate, I put on this movie on Netflix called Colossal, and it's with Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis, a couple other people, and it was so fun. Essentially, Anne Hathaway's character finds out that she is psychically linked to a monster, and the movie's on Netflix. It's been out for like 10 years, so I'm going to give spoilers. By the way, if I do that movie podcast on Patreon, it's going to be all spoilers. I'm trying to give like the most non-spoiler reviews and talks on this podcast. But dude, I just want to dive into this stuff, man. And she finds out she's psychically linked to this monster in South Korea. And basically, like every morning at 8:05 for some reason on a playground, whatever movements she makes or whatever she does is what the monster does all the way in South Korea. And, you know, the themes of the movie are because she's an alcoholic. She gets dumped by her boyfriend because of it. She moves back to like her hometown, which is where all this takes place. And then she, you know, befriends Jason Sudeikis' character because they were childhood friends. He gives her a job. And it takes like a twist and turn like I didn't think that it would. And the end of the movie, I'm still scratching my head at, and how everything's resolved and how what happens. And you guys should see it. Uh, but it was so much fun. And some movies like you just gotta like turn on to like enjoy it. Like Transformers, like none of those movies are good at all. But I'll turn them on while I'm doing homework, and I'll be like, heck yeah, Optimus Prime, do your thing, even though he's not good at fighting until the end of the movie for some reason. But I think that way about like preaching too. Like whenever I go to like, you know, a new church or any church in general, and I'm listening to the pastor preach his sermon, I am so deeply analyzing all of his talking points, his transitions, his structure, scriptural support, you know, the dynamics of his voice, like just like, you know, I feel like what's that meme with like Tony Stark and he's like moving all that, like that's how I feel like I'm analyzing him. And it really takes away sometimes, I think, from my experience, like actually being able to sit in church and, you know, enjoy what's being preached. Cause I'm like, I'm like, dude, like I wouldn't have connected those points that way or this or that. And it's, you know, I don't know. It's my own thing that I got to kind of figure out. Like the things I'm analytical about are so stupid, man. So stupid. But other things in my life I'm so free spirited with, like like moving, dude. So okay, let me take you guys back. So a couple months ago, one of my best friends in Phoenix, his name is Josh, hit me up, and he's like, "Hey man, I decided to take a job in Tampa. My flight leaves Saturday morning. I'm having to go on a away party on Friday night. Would love to see you before I head out." So I'm like, "Oh, bet. Well, I gotta go. Didn't really give me any other options to see him other than that. I'm like, I'm not gonna not see my boy before he heads out. And so I really didn't want to go out because it's in Scottsdale, and I don't like going out in Scottsdale because it's demonic, and which is a whole other rant for another time. But they're doing like this pregame at his place, or not his place, but his friend's place. Really nice apartment in Scottsdale. So I walk in, and I see him, a couple other buddies, and then the guy whose apartment it is walks out of the bathroom, and he's like, I see him, I'm like, oh, he's super Indian, and then he starts talking to me, and I'm like, is this Benedict Cumberbatch? Like the most British accent of all time. And I'm like, this guy's cool. And we're, chatting back and forth. I'm hanging with the guys. A bunch of people from like college that I haven't seen in forever pull up, and I'm catching up with everybody, having a couple drinks, and, just feeling good. And, I told my boy Josh I was only gonna be there 45 minutes or an hour. And he was like, dude, we're gonna go do karaoke. Would love for you to come, but if not, like, no worries. So I like dap him up. And, I start, I leave, I start heading back home. And in the car, I literally start bawling my eyes out. And, my girlfriend at the time was like at my house, and I think she's getting ready for like a dinner or something. And, you know, she could sniff out tears like a bloodhound. Like, think of like a drop, they say like sharks, if you drop, or if one drop of blood hits the water, they can smell it from like, a mile away or something like that. That was my, um, that was her with when it comes to like tears. So I'm like, I gotta get this out of my system before I get back. So I'm like, cool, got it out of my system. I walk into my house. She's like, hey, like, how's, the party? I'm like super dismissive. And, I go to my room, and she comes in. She's like, you okay? And I start bawling my eyes out again, dude. And she's like, what's wrong? And I start crying things that I didn't even realize were in my heart or in my mind. And I'm just like, I feel so much pain constantly and so much misery being in Phoenix. Because, dude, I was in Phoenix, close to 10 years. Like, I got there 2016, freshman at GCU, and I grew up there, 18-year-old kid, 28 now, you know, just showing up like I knew everything there was to know about the world. And, I succeeded a ton in Arizona. I did some incredible things, and that I'm super proud of. And it'll always be a part of me. I actually got little cactus tattoo to commemorate my time in Phoenix right before I left. But dude, like whenever I would, drive through the streets or walk around, I had so many negative experiences and memories linked to so many places around that city. I would go down the street, and I'd see, a coffee shop where I used to meet a friend that I'm no longer friends with, or, you know, um, me and my, an ex-girlfriend of mine would, hang out there a ton, or, that's the spot where I considered taking my life, or that's the spot where I found out my mom died. Just like all over the city. And, I felt like for a few years, like, this isn't, I never thought Phoenix was the final stop or final destination. I thought I would come to Phoenix, get a degree or two, and then go on to the next thing. And I ended up staying for longer than I thought I would. And, I've talked about for the past few years how eventually I want to get out of Arizona. And, so I'm crying like basically how unhappy I am and how miserable I am. And I just realize I can't take the weight of how I'm feeling much longer, and that it will literally like destroy me if I stay in the state for any period of time. So I'm feeling this way. Um, I ended up resigning from my job at the church I'm working at. Um, my lease is running out. It's almost up, and end up breaking up with my girlfriend, and it was just this perfect awful storm of things. Uh, that led to God just being like, "Hey, it's time to move on. It is time." And I I remember going to a Christian rave with my buddy Michael Price, and which was so fun, by the way, really cool. One of the coolest experiences of my life. Like, you know, the Christian worship hits with like house music behind them, and just people everywhere that love the Lord. Jack and Coke in my hand as I'm worshiping. It was really cool. And I'm talking to my buddy, and we're just talking about sales because he sells timeshares. And for whatever reason, I'm taking him through like my pest control pitch from my pest control days, and I'm like, huh, I still know this like the back of my hand. And I'm like, maybe I should hit up a couple guys that I know in the industry. So the company I was at before, I ended up leaving because they wouldn't pay me what I was worth. And I'm like, let me see what else is available out there. And I've talked to other companies since then too, and they've thrown out like crazy numbers at me. But I'm like, I don't know your culture. I don't know anyone at the company. Um, so if I were to ever do door to door again, it would have to be like a great situation. So I hop on the phone with um, a buddy of mine who went off and started his own company in Orange County, California, and end up having another meeting with him and his brother. They're like co-owners of the company, and they just like give me this Godfather kind of offer that I'm like I couldn't believe the numbers that they were throwing at me, and they're telling me on the call they're like obviously you're high performer and we think you can sell a ton and we want to incentivize you to do that, but even more so like you're a man of God and you're going to be great for our culture. And it was so cool to hear them say that when I didn't feel like I was appreciated at that previous spot. And prayed about it, talked to family and friends about it, and I'm like, you know what, no strings attached to me for the first time in years. um I have the opportunity to make some crazy money. Let's do it. So decided to move back home for a few weeks. Yeah, I think I'll be here for like 3 weeks here in Milwaukee, and then sending it out to LA for the summer to knock doors, sell pest control. And then this fall, gonna relocate to the Seattle area, probably more like Tacoma, and start a new life there. And so many people have been like, yo, are you stressed out? Are you okay? Like, where's your mental at? And this is the most at peace I felt in so long, dude. Because I feel like I'm actually doing something. Like, I'm progressing towards something. Like, I'm not stagnant and still. And that's how I felt being in Arizona. I'm like, okay, I know there's something next after this, and at some point I'm going to get to it. And I just kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off for good reason, because I had work to do that God wanted me to do in Arizona. But now that I'm like on in the next chapter, I'm like so excited, dude. I am so excited. No idea where I'm going to live in the fall, what I'm going to do after the summer, but I know God's got me. I don't know I'm going to figure it out. And the idea of just moving to a new city, a new state, and starting over, like, is so exciting. Like, I love adventure. I love traveling. I love seeing the world. And I think a big part of it, and some of you guys might be able to relate to this, is, I grew up in Milwaukee, which is the biggest city in Wisconsin, but it's, compared to, every other major city, it's like really small. And I've always known like there's more to the world than Wisconsin. And I've seen so many people, go away to school and come back home to Wisconsin and, you know, put on weight and do their 9 to 5 thing and, live your life, do your thing. But I'm like, dude, I don't know. It seems miserable to me. Like, the sun doesn't shine here. I don't know if I've seen the sun one time since I've been here for like a week. And that is so depressing. Not that I have to see it all the time. Like, it was too much in Phoenix. If I'm not going to see the sun, it needs to rain or snow. Like, there need to be clouds for a reason. In Milwaukee, there's clouds for no reason. Like, when I go to Seattle, like, I love the rain, so I'm super excited about that. But it's just a depressing city, guys. And I just I'm just like so excited to start over. And I feel like, obviously I'm a lot older and wiser than I was when I'm 18, and I know who I am. I know what I want. I know what I want my life to look like. And I have so many exciting business ideas and ventures I want to get into. I really feel like God gave me an awesome, incredible idea for a Christian like fantasy book that I've been writing, and I've been writing the characters and explaining the premise to people. And everyone's like, wow, that actually sounds really cool, really fun, really interesting. I'd read that. And so I haven't been this excited to write something in a really long time. And then I'm also working on a business that hopefully I can launch like by the end of the year. That's basically like a discipleship curriculum, ooh, excuse me, and maybe even a system for churches. And so I'm really early stages of that and writing that out, and then I'm going to shoot videos for that as well, and probably pick like some like three pilot churches, church plant, medium sized church, large church, and then just give them the curriculum for free, and just ask for like data in return, so that I can use that data to then launch my business and eventually end up selling my curriculum to other churches. And I'm super excited about that. I'm about halfway done with my album, figuring out music video stuff right now. My producer is, I mean, he's the best he's ever been. I feel like artistically, I'm the best I've ever been. And I just feel like God is just really blessing me. And I'm so lucky, dude. And um, yeah, I mean, not everything in my life is perfect. I mean, technically, I guess I'm homeless right now. Like, I'm just crashing in the house I grew up for a few weeks. And then I'm, in an apartment in LA for the summer, um, sales broing it out, and then gonna hike it up to Seattle and figure something out. And I'm so happy. And I might be, a psychopath for that, but it is what it is. You got to do in this life what makes you happy, which is the most woke, stupid thing to say. Because a lot of times people just say it to condone their really awful behavior, but I don't know. I think I spent a lot of my early 20s just living my life for people that don't care about me at all, for the opinions of people from high school or college or work or church that don't pay my bills, that, I'm not going to call when I lose a family member, or for financial advice, or, to grab drinks when, I just need to hang out. They're just like people. And I swear, if there weren't so many things that I had to, you know, promote, like this podcast or my music, or, the other stuff I talked about, like Instagram's so toxic, dude. And the only app that I find joy in at this point is TikTok, because it's basically like Vine, but better. If you guys remember Vine, like the 6 second clips and how fun that was. But TikTok, like, you can get anything, man. You can, dude, I watched like a 3 minute video the other day about like beavers and how insane beavers are. Like, dude, there's like there's a dam they built that's like 1,200 feet long or something like that. It's like enormous. It's actually insane. Like, and I learned that on TikTok. There's so many things I learned on TikTok, or, utilizing ChatGPT or whatever, that I just like did not know, and that was not taught in high school or college. And it's insane. And I think that, you know, uh, technology can be used to make your life amazing and awesome. And obviously in other ways, it cannot and will not. Because every time I talk about ChatGPT, people were like, "Oh, I thought you were a Christian." I'm like, dude, it's just like Google on steroids, man. Like, dude, I would use it at my job for like, PowerPoint slides. Like it would literally like draft up slides for me, or streamlining emails, or organizing Excel documents. It saved me like 4 or 5 hours a week in my work week. Like it's amazing. And yes, I pay for like premium ChatGPT, and it's like $20 a month, and so worth it. All that to say, ChatGPT sponsor your boy. Um, but yeah, you got to do what makes you happy in life, and if somebody doesn't think what makes you happy is cool, then who cares? Like if you listen to Cat's Eye, I definitely don't think that's cool, but dude, I so the Grammys were like, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I don't even watch the Grammys anymore at this point because it's just a bunch of industry media bullcrap. But I've been seeing clips of this Cat's Eye performance. I think I'm saying the name right. And it's insane. They perform this song called Gnarly, I think it is, and it's like the most the group is like the most cookie cutter pop sound, but mixed with the cringe of like early 2000s Disney shows mixed into one thing. Like literally the one line of this Gnarly song is fried chicken. That's what it is. Like I'm not making that up. I swear to you. And I went and I watched the performance, and I went and I watched the music video, and I'm like, this how how is this acceptable at the Grammys? And it's the reason why I don't watch the Grammys anymore. So I went and I like looked at their page, and they don't have any albums out. They obviously have a huge following, and it's like I looked at the description for this group on their Spotify, and I'm like, it gives K-pop vibes, this group, but there's only like one Asian girl, or maybe two at most. And so I go and look, and it's like it says some like bull crap about using the methodologies and packaging of K-pop, like some nothing sentence to basically say like they're not K-pop, but they give off K-pop vibes. And then I look at like all the members, and there's like one Asian person. There's like six of them. So I'm like, this is not a K-pop group. So I don't even know why you're saying K-pop. They're signed to UMG, which is an American, label. And I'm going through their songs, and I'm like, this is what 13-year-old girls listen to at slumber parties. Which, if that's your target audience and demographic, like do your thing. But I don't know. It's like I don't I'm getting to the point of my adulthood, I guess, where I just don't understand what the young people like. Because, what I enjoy in music is the lyrics. Like, obviously I write a lot, and so that should be no surprise. Like I like the lyricists. I like, but I also love pop music that has a message. It's why I love Millennium, because his production is amazing, but the writing, and the concepts of his songs are so beautiful and relatable. Uh, and there's been this shift the past probably 10 years or so in music where the production is so much more important than the lyrics and the message. And, you know, you got to have a good beat. You got to have good production for sure. But like fried chicken, gnarly. Like what? Fried chicken's not gnarly, dude. Like, dude, don't get me wrong. I'm black. I love fried chicken. But for it to be a lyric in a song that UMG is then dumping millions behind in branding and packaging and promotion, and it's working? Oh my goodness. I don't get it. I mean, I don't get Taylor Swift either, and she's the biggest artist in the world. I don't I understand why she's appealing to so many like people because she looks like most of, the women in this country. but like in terms of like what she's her music sounds like and what she's saying, it's like all of it sounds like, and then I was walking through the grass and I was combing my hair because I'm just a girl and I'm just a teenager. It's like, bro, you're like almost 40. And one of my best friends, like Michaela, she has always loved Taylor Swift. And I've listened to Taylor Swift albums like, and I would say the best one that I've listened to is like in her new era at least is that Reputation album. I like that one, but I don't know. I like country Taylor Swift. Like she wears short skirts, I don't know. She's still writing music for teenagers as someone that's in her late 30s, and it's very cringy to me. Obviously not to most people because she's literally the biggest artist in the world. So I just like don't understand. I don't know. Like even her fans were like slamming her album online to the point where she made a video like about it saying she doesn't care. I mean, why would you make a video about it if you don't care? Um and it still did like 3 million units first week. Like she went triple platinum or something like that first week. Like, dude, those are unheard of numbers. And, I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about before, where it's like, it's subjective. Obviously, like most people, well, not most people, but a lot of people disagree with me when I say that, Taylor Swift's or Cat's Eye's music is not good. Because Taylor Swift sells so many records, and I cannot stop seeing Cat's Eye everywhere I look. Um, and I got to be okay with people just disagreeing with me. And I think we've lost the ability to do that. And I don't want to lose the ability to do that. I love hearing people explain to me like why they like Taylor Swift. And I've never heard a satisfying answer, but maybe one day I will. Maybe one day something will click in my brain and I'll be a heartbroken 16-year-old girl again and I will relate to her music. But until then, I have to be open to the idea that other people might think different things from me, you know? Uh, I got, so I went to church Sunday with my big sister and then we got coffee after. And we're just catching up and we're talking live. We were there for like 2 hours, I think. Like I don't know if me and my sister have ever hung out that long one on one. It was really good. But I'm so proud of her because she's come such a long way. Like my big sister used to be the most impulsive, rude, abrasive person I've ever met, cussing like a sailor, didn't care what anybody had to say, drinking, all the time. And hearing about how God has transformed her life it's a literal miracle if you knew my sister beforehand. And, she talked about how she had a situation at her workplace where she confronted somebody about who was talking crap behind her back and how the woman was just so shocked that my sister Ajla came to her and confronted her about it. And I think, dude, that's why I have lost so many friendships and relationships is because I hate and will not ignore the elephant in the room. Like I heard you said something crazy about me behind my back and you said we're friends. Next time I see you, we're going to talk about it. Because if I said something that hurt your feelings or you didn't agree with or you thought was like lame, then let's talk about it. So that, best case scenario for you, like I changed my behavior and I didn't even see that because I'm me and I only see the world through my eyes. And now I get to become a better person with information that is brought to me. And then on the other end of that spectrum, I could be like, oh no, like I made that comment or I did this because, this is where my mindset was. And then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even take that into account. I just like reacted and judged the situation on surface level and didn't try to dive deeper into like what was the thought behind that. And because I'm so direct in my relationships, like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Um, like I don't have like I know a lot of people, like I'm cool with a lot of people, but there are probably like 12 people on this planet that are littered across the globe, whether they're here in Milwaukee or Phoenix, Seattle, Australia, Europe, like that I trust with my life and I have a very close relationship with. And it's because like I'm not going to take bull crap. And you shouldn't take bull crap from people, by the way. Like a lot of you guys have relationships with friends in your life only because you've had them for so long and it's making you miserable. Like, what do you mean you're still friends with so and so because like you went to high school together? You just told me about how she's talked crap about you, how she's the worst person to hang around with, how, she did this or that or whatever it is. And you're going to hang out with her tomorrow or in a couple days and act like nothing has happened? Dude, how can you how can you live life that way? I just I hate fakeness and being superficial and just like doing something just for show. Like like those guys that you know whenever you go out to dinner or whatever and they're like jumping to pay the bill. Like, no, I'm gonna pay. I'm like, okay, man, like if like you need that, like you can pay. I'm gonna offer to chip in and pay for what I was responsible for, but hey, next time, like let me grab it then, you know? Um, and also like if somebody does that, it's like, okay, you decided to do that. I appreciate you. I'm not the one to be like, oh, dude, you sure, bro? Like, come on, man. You don't have to do that. Like, no, I'm like, I truly believe in allowing people to bless you. Like, if somebody wants to pay for my meal or somebody wants to get me a gift or somebody wants to do something nice for me, I'm not going to block that blessing from my life because I know that I'm a man of God and God's going to bless that person because they bless me. Like, I truly believe that. And I don't think that's prosperity gospel. I think we see that all over scripture that God's people carry blessings and the people who bless God's people will be blessed. And I'm not talking about that that scripture in Genesis where God's talking about specifically Jacob, who's renamed to Israel, and then people try to take out of context and say like, oh, we have to align with Israel and basically turn a blind eye to genocide. Said I wouldn't get political. And I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat, dude. I hate bull crap. I really do. And most of the media content that we are consuming is bull crap. And I hope you guys see that. I hope you see that these billionaires and huge corporate companies are really the ones that are running things. And that, the poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer. And I had a buddy ask me the other day and say, I mean, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know, like leave the country, but it's like, where are you going to go? I don't know. We got to pray, which sounds like, the most Christian cop out answer, but it's like, I going to the polls and voting for somebody. Like, I think definitely like local elections matter a lot more than we give it credit for. Like, it's so crazy to me that I can vote for a president and, the electoral college just like chooses somebody else anyway. Or like, if you get most of the votes in a state, the candidate gets all the electoral votes in the state. Like, it's actually kind of nuts. Uh, I just think we could solve 95% of our issues in this country with term limits and the outlawing of lobbying. I think we might live in a darn near utopia at that point, but it's never going to happen because no one wants to give up money and not be rich. I want to be rich, man. Like, my business idea of selling a curriculum to churches, like, I think that could be really lucrative, and I'm doing something positive at the same time. And I want to make a lot of money, and because I want to provide for my family. And, I was told all the time growing up, we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that. And I don't want to have to feel like I'm living in survival mode. Um, yeah, it's been a few weeks since we dropped an episode just because I was depressed and trying to figure everything out. And then I was on the road, and it was tough, man. It was really tough. Um, and I didn't want to really get on here and talk to you guys because I didn't really want to talk to anybody. And I had to give up so many things in Phoenix to get here. And now that I'm in this space now, I'm happy and I'm at peace and I'm excited for what God's going to do. But I appreciate you guys for hitting me up, where's the pod? Hey, we missed the podcast. Hey, you doing okay? Like, those messages mean the world to me. They really do. And I'm kind of borderline thinking about bringing the podcast back on a weekly basis because I think there's merit and virtue in doing that. So I'm leaning towards, doing Father Help Us weekly, and also doing maybe the movie podcast audio on Patreon only as well. Excuse me, on a weekly basis, because I watch movies all the time, dude. I just watched Iron Lung the other day, and that was an interesting movie for sure. And ultimately, man, I'm just in a spot in my life where I can do whatever I want. And some of you need to get to that spot in your lives. And you have to stop letting that obstacle, whether it's what other people think of you, or it's a relationship that you don't want to be in, or it's a job that gives you security, and you need to let it go. And you need to do something uncomfortable and different, because I think God has so much more for us. I know He has so much more for me, but we get comfortable with these routines and these jobs and, all of these other things that make our lives predictable and give it comfort and give it some form of regularity. And the more I read scripture and I lean into the gospels and into the spirit, like, the more I see, like, God's like, no, following me is an adventure. And it's beautiful. But so many of us are scared. We're scared there's going to be no money coming in. We're scared that, no one's going to like us. We're scared that no one will ever fall in love with us. And we live in this constant state of fear. But scripture says that perfect love casts out all fear. And the only perfect love you can find is through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Father, help us. Appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Yeah, come back weekly. We're going to do this weekly. F it. Let's do it. Even if I have to record like back to back, I'll figure out a way to do it. But we're back weekly. We are going to get, guests on it at some point. It's a little hard right now because I'm literally sitting in a corner of my dad's house with a ghetto setup going right now. But at some point, we'll get multiple people on. I'm friends with a couple girls who have another podcast, Cozy Up Podcast. And we definitely want to do like a joint thing at some point. So that'll be a lot of fun. But I love you guys. Let me know if you want that movie podcast where we just talk about movies and we go into spoilers and you guys can give me suggestions on movies and I'll watch them and we'll discuss them on the Patreon. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Dude, Freaking kiss that like button and make out with a subscribe button, and follow us at Father Help Us Podcast on Instagram. Let's get those follows up, baby. And please share this podcast too as well. Love you guys. We will see you next week. Peace.